This is Brian Ross, quarterback trainer, Spartan Sports in New Hampshire. Today we're going to talk about throwing mechanics with a basic introduction to biomechanics and motion timing. Before we get started, I think it's important to understand the overall objective when it comes to proper throwing mechanics. We advocate a full body throwing motion starting from the ground up, where we turn ground force into rotational force that's released through the back of the ball. It all starts with our pocket posture. We operate from a balanced platform. It's an athletic, relaxed position. Knees slightly bent. If you're 6'2", you're 6'1". We have our feet slightly wider than shoulder width apart. 70% of our weight is on the inside back leg. We're holding the ball in the backpack. We have a firm but light grip. And we stress front hand pressure. Anytime we're in the pocket, we want front hand pressure for ball security. So we'll simplify biomechanics into two phases: the load phase and the drive phase. The key to the load phase is to separate our lower body from our upper body. How do we do this? As we initiate our throw with a slight step of our lead foot, we want that step to be slightly left of target. At the same time, we're rotating our shoulders around our spine. We're using the front hand pressure to wind up the ball. This wind up is above the chest, and we're maintaining our 70% load on our back leg. This creates a tremendous torque across our core from our right shoulder to our left hip. It's this torque that ends up getting released that increases the velocity of our throws. One of the common errors we see is quarterbacks are taught to lift the ball. They're taught to lift the ball in an effort to promote a quick release, but they get no charge of the core and results in a throw that lacks power. So the key takeaway is load, don't lift. Once loaded, now we initiate the drive phase. The drive phase is really more art than science, and we get a variety of styles here given the quarterback's physical size and athletic ability. At foot strike, what we see is the torso moving forward. We have a weight shift from the back foot to the front foot. We have hip rotation, and we have our upper body turning left. And in general, what we find is quarterbacks need to clear that lead hip more aggressively and early while maintaining the load on their back leg longer in the throwing process. What's mission critical in the drive phase is that we accelerate the elbow to the lead position of the throw ahead of the shoulder turn. This is the only way we can ensure accuracy and velocity out to the target. One of the common problems in the drive phase is we see quarterbacks overstride or get up on their toe. They lock their left leg. As a result, we see a tilt. Their chest moves forward, resulting in loss of power and accuracy. So to recap biomechanics, 3 key takeaways: load, don't lift; turn, don't tilt; and accelerate the elbow to the lead position of the throw. Now we'll use a variety of drills to train and isolate these principles. We also use the Power Chalk app, which is a great teaching tool. We take an iPhone video of the quarterback's drop and throw, we upload it to the website, and we can look at these positions frame by frame. For the athlete, sometimes seeing is believing. Now, to wrap up Biomechanics 101, I will close with some practical pointers for quarterbacks to take to the field. Just a quick recap. The load phase, we want to load, not lift. The drive phase, we want to turn, not tilt, and accelerate our elbow to the lead position. So the first pointer is use of that front hand pressure to help turn around our spine. You can almost feel like you're going to throw the ball with 2 hands. Obviously your hands will separate, but this really ensures you got a full turn. The other part of the load phase is to level the shoulders. So when we're in a pocket posture, you can see our elbows are relaxed, pointing to the ground. What I tell the quarterbacks is level their shoulders. So what we want to see is our elbows are now parallel to the ground, pointing forward and backwards. Now, you can do this 2 ways. You could have it where your wrist, elbow, and shoulder are on the same plane, or where the ball is slightly higher. It's really personal preference. But the other key is we want to avoid any unnecessary movement backwards in order to gain speed going forwards. So A lot of quarterbacks think they need to push the ball away, set it on a shelf, and what they fail to realize is when we drive, we take that initial step, we are creating space naturally. So there really is no need for unnecessary movement. Now, we need to load, but again, we don't want unnecessary movement backwards to accelerate our arm going forwards. One of the best visuals of this, I think, for quarterbacks is a slingshot or a bow and arrow. In this case, I have a slingshot here. So, as we take our stance and as we drive, you can see that our load is here. It isn't back here. So just like a football, as we move with our hand here, we're going to load right here, right? We don't really need any unnecessary movement of the ball away from our body or back. We are loading naturally here. So what I like to tell quarterbacks is visualize that slingshot or bow and arrow where you're moving here and you're just pulling that elbow back a little bit, just like a slingshot. But again, the load happens as we drive forward. We don't have to create unnecessary movement backwards. The other key pointer is to keep a flat right wrist or flat throwing wrist. And what happens a lot is we have the impression that as we grab a football that having a bent right wrist is a much more powerful position, which may be true for a baseball, but given the shape of a football, what we really want is a flat right wrist. As a lot of quarterbacks come through with their hands sliding under the ball, and they might throw a nice spiral, but they're certainly giving up a lot of potential velocity. What we really want to see throughout the load phase and right until release is a flat right wrist. Now we do have a training aid to help that out, a wrist protector. This is a wrist protector used by rip stickers and roller skaters. It basically has a hard piece that keeps the wrist flat to prevent injury. And what we can use it for is to help build muscle memory while we're throwing the ball of keeping that wrist flat. So it fits in here. We can actually throw the ball. We kind of load up, keeps our wrist flat. Now we can't snap like we normally would, but actually we can still throw the football. And again, just helps build muscle memory, keeping a flat wrist. Now in terms of the drive phase, I think one of the real keys is that when we drive with our lead foot, that we hit on the heel. We don't want to get up on the toe and we start to tilt. We want to hit that heel with a bent knee and really drive that into the ground, that ground force, so we can really turn on that heel. Now lastly, we want to talk about accelerating the elbow to the lead position. Now what's key here is that the elbow and arm accelerate faster than our body's turning, so that we're getting into a position where the distance between our elbow and our opposite shoulder has narrowed substantially. Now our shoulder turn fully supports the throw. We have our right shoulder and right hip behind the ball, and we'll see a lot more velocity coming out. What we don't want to do is if we don't accelerate the elbow, what happens is we're dragging that elbow through. You can see that our elbow and opposite shoulder are 180 degrees apart. So again, we want to accelerate the elbow to the lead position of the throw. Hope this helps. That's it for biomechanics. We'll see you on the field.